Imagine transaction banking, where repetitive tasks and decision-making are automated, freeing your team for unparalleled efficiency and improved client experience. This is the transformative power of AI in action. AI empowers computer systems to perform tasks that mimic human cognitive functions. It uses powerful techniques like machine learning and deep learning to recognize patterns, make decisions, and even solve problems. But how does AI understand language? That's where large language models, or LLMs, come in. Think of them as superpowered brains trained on massive datasets of text and code. They can write content, understand and translate languages in real time, and even generate code. And they are the building blocks for a revolutionary concept, generative AI, or GenAI. This video itself was created with the help of generative AI, showcasing its ability to generate creative formats. GenAI can generate new data or original content from existing datasets. AI and GenAI are more than just tools. They represent a fundamental shift in transaction banking, unlocking a future of efficiency, security, and proactive risk management. Join us in the following session, where we'll delve deeper into AI and GenAI's potential in transaction banking.
So, good morning, everyone. We thought we might start a bit different than other sessions. Of course, AI is a hot topic, and hopefully the presentation will give you some key insights of the work we've been doing over the past 3 months. We've done a lot of research, interviews with subject matter experts. We've done a quick survey across the BEV community as well. So we sent it out to all the 800 people involved within the BEV community. We got 96 respondents, so close to 100 respondents, asking again 2 key questions. What are the most feasible and most likely use cases that we'll see developing in the coming years, and also the key challenges that we face as an industry to implement these technologies going forward. So the top 3 here is automated document processing. Probably not a surprise, it's all about data extraction and you know, amplifying our people to work more efficiently and more effectively in the coming years. Fraud detection, also mentioned, I think, in the previous panels, so also probably not a surprise. And then last but not least, compliance, of course, so compliance support tools in any way, shape, or form. The key challenges here are as the top one, data quality, also mentioned in the previous panels, of course. As a heavily data-dependent institutions like banks, like most people of us will work for the global banks. We have a lot of data we sit on, but it's very challenging to actually use that data and to make it relevant for our clients in how we use that and present it to our stakeholders and clients. Of course, regulation and compliance is very important. In the white paper, we'll elaborate a bit more on that, so please do read up on the white paper. Today, we'll focus a bit more on some pragmatic guidance on how you can start using these technologies within your firm. And the last challenge is lack of controls, hallucinations. The nature of generative AI is that it can create new content. That also means that it can create content that is simply not true and false. So always when you create something with generative AI, like the video, it will never be 100% correct. So you always have to tweak it a little bit and change it a little bit and obviously check whether the content is actually correct. Then maybe moving on to the next slide and some of the key findings we had from speaking to industry experts. So we spoke to dozens of people within the global banks. We've spoken to a lot of the big tech firms like Microsoft, HCL Tech. We've also spoken with academia from some of the big universities in the US, like Berkeley, to get a sense and feel on what they see as the dominant guiding principles to get started with the technology. Mostly they indicate start internally, like starting with external engagement on generative AI is close to impossible with all the hoops we have to jump through as banks being highly regulated. So start internal. Make the use case very task specific, so look at very isolated processes like account opening, account closures, where you can really expose the technology to make it work for you and create that productivity gain that you're looking for. Start with the problem, not the technology. I think it's safe to say that also us, investigating this for the last 3 months, technology is highly complex, and to figure that out is probably a bit of a long shot. But start with the problem and start engaging with technology firms to see how you can leverage the technology. Of course, it all comes down also to create a culture that is willing to experiment and keep everybody engaged to just try out the technology, make the business case work, probably needs no further explanation. I think the bottom line question is always, how can we make money with this? And understand the limitations and possibilities. So we'll try to illustrate that a bit further with the use cases. I'll do one use cases, then I'll hand over to my colleague Amin to do a further use cases, and then we'll have some further guidance from Kaylee on strategies for implementation. Moving on to the next slide. So use case one, or rather the overarching technology that we'll see several use cases. And we have to understand the fundamental capabilities. So if you look at generative AI, it's able to read 1,000 times faster than we are. It will understand the content 1,000 times faster than we can. And it will write suggestions and advice far faster than we can all do today in our job. So it will be a huge amplifier for all of us in transaction banking to use these tools for our benefit and see how we can more effectively use our resources. The challenges are also in line with what was mentioned in the survey. Obviously, data quality, but also understanding the context of the data. So by grounding your models, let's say, you reduce the hallucinations and the outcome of your questionnaires. So a few examples are generation of customer profiles, and bottom line is extraction of data. So extraction data from client interactions, extracting data from client transactions as well, if you will. Then automating basic functions, like mentioned. Choose isolated processes, account opening, account closures, very suitable for exposing generative AI. Support in decision making, but also policy drafting. I think we all face a lot of challenges with regulation, so you can expose generative AI to all kinds of regulatory documents and have it summarize it and advise the best way forward, and even write draft policy papers for you that you can obviously then check and discuss internally to finalize. With that, I will hand over to my most esteemed colleague, Amin, to further walk you through some of the use cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be covering two use cases as part of this presentation. The first one is regarding the AI assistant and its application for the sales, how it can improve the efficiencies in the organization, specifically for the banking. So basically, as per the research report, we have noticed that 25% of the times employees do waste, I would say, their time or spend their time doing repetitive and routine tasks, obviously, which is not helpful. Imagine having an AI assistant by your side, providing you key client insights and automating your key processes so that you can boost your sales. Some of the key applications or ways whereby GenAI can improve the sales team's performance in your organizations are predictive analytics, whereby AI can help you predict the client needs even before they arise based on the past trends. Increasing efficiency, AI can really help you in terms of automating some of the routine tasks like sending the call reports, meeting invites, and even the follow-ups. Social listening, another powerful application which can be used through AI, where AI assistant can monitor the social media for you and identify potential client leads, and can provide necessary information for your sales team based on the predefined criteria so that they can focus on the deals which matter the most or which have the highest probability in terms of the closure. And it is not about just numbers and improving the efficiency for the sales. AI can really help improve the development of your teams as well. GenAI can literally analyze the data of a person in terms of the sales performance and provide necessary feedback in terms of the areas of improvement. And even for like if you're doing a live sales call, AI assistant can give you real-time feedback to improve your communication and negotiation skills as well. So in summary, AI is a tool, not a replacement, something that we need to remember. And the results from the AI is as good as the data it is trained on. So the quality of the data is very important. Third one, the human touch is still very important, whereby in terms of building a relationship, doing complex negotiation, and taking some strategic decisions. With this, I'd like to move on to the next one, which is the AI application for compliance and fraud management, along with this sanction screening as well. So financial crime has been a growing concern for the financial industry overall, costing billions every year. And the traditional methods of fraud detection are not able to keep up the pace with the ever-evolving fraud management schemes and the complex regulations. Regulatory bodies have been imposing hefty fines on financial institutions, and the trend expected to continue. Just in 2022, financial industry faced fines of $8 billion collectively. And if we look at this number since 2008 financial crisis, the number is staggering $56 billion. In this whole scenario, GenAI provides a very powerful tool to fight this financial security. And GenAI has the capability and the power to really transform the compliance function of any financial institution. Some of the ways GenAI can really help and transform a compliance function is by proactive fraud detection, enhanced AML compliance, and streamlining some of the routine tasks like report generation, data analysis, and all of those things, which will eventually lead to lower fraud losses and better client experience. Because if you have a proactive and accurate fraud detection, there will be less false positive, and you can provide better client services to your more legitimate clients. So in summary, GenAI, if the organizations go for the implementation for the GenAI for the compliance-related applications, it provides a very good opportunity for the banks to enhance their compliance effort, mitigates financial risk, and they can also allocate their resources more efficiently. As risk is here to stay, and what we do in banking, we always take risk and manage risk. And with this, I would like to call Kelly to come over and continue with the presentation and wrap it up.
Thanks, Amin. So discussing the key use cases is a great segue into how you can actually go about tactically implementing artificial intelligence within your organization. Now, we interviewed a couple dozen different individuals from fintechs, FIs, and technology providers like Microsoft, and a few key best practices emerged. So the first of those that we're going to discuss today is ethics. So with every other artificial intelligence headline that you see out there, there is some level of discourse on ethical usage, questioning if it's safe, reliable, and transparent. With artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, you have what you call a black box effect. Your artificial intelligence model is essentially a black box that's taking in a variety of different data inputs and using and transforming that data inputs to create its output. And what people are finding is because these large language models are trained using a wide variety of historical data, it's tending to perpetuate bias. A prevalent example out there is an artificial intelligence tool was tested for its capabilities in loan decision making, and it was consistently turning down loans for individuals of certain demographics. And so why that's important is it means that from day one, it's pretty imperative to have an ethics and governance framework that you can tie the build and use of your artificial intelligence model to. And what you're trying to ensure with this ethics framework is that you have some transparency around how you're building and using your model, as well as ensuring that you're mitigating bias. You also want to make sure that you're thoroughly documenting all of your efforts to build and use your model and tie it back to this ethics framework, so you can do some level of look-back review to ensure that any decisions that your AI model drove were tested for bias and that the data it's using continues to be sound and accurate. That then leads us into our second consideration, which is risk and compliance. And what we found here that's a little bit unique is that your compliance partners are sort of going on this journey with you. And by that, we mean their existing risk frameworks and policies don't necessarily consider artificial intelligence. And so while those will need to be updated at some point, until then, both you and them can benefit from a level of a dynamic relationship so they can keep you abreast of any regulatory updates, how they impact your organization, and ultimately how you develop and use artificial intelligence models. And then honing in on the risk aspects, of course, you want to build your artificial intelligence models within a palatable risk framework, but that may mean that you're considering using them and testing them for non-consumer facing applications first, so you can really limit liability for your organization. And then that leads us into our third and last consideration here, which is having a centrally led operating model. It's pretty important for you to be able to synchronize activities across product, risk, sales, tech, and ops, because AI is going to drive a lot of change for these different stakeholders. And what you don't want to happen is you enter into a situation where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing and it becomes an exhaustingly iterative process. You also want to think about the fact that AI talent is pretty scarce right now, and having that centrally led operating model can really help with resource allocation and prioritization. And then of course, just being able to share lessons learned, like who are the best technology providers out there, and if you want to go off the shelf versus custom development. So kind of closing out here, again, we interviewed quite a variety of different individuals. We surveyed members of BAFT, and the general consensus is that AI is going to be pretty transformative for our industry. It's just sort of a matter of when, likely in the medium to long term. However, defining success for organizations is really going to go hand in hand with responsible usage. So with that, that concludes our presentation.